Hi y'all! I finally made the color render tutorial. Yeah, I've kind of been iffy, so it's kind of been busy. Plus summer school and art flight has been catching me up. Besides that, the character I'm going to be drawing today is a fan child of PV Kieran. lmaooo Crystal. Introducing Kaiba! Let's proceed with the tutorial now, shall we? First, I already drew my sketch beforehand. For sketching and liner, I used a dip pen hard brush, as you see with the sketch here. And the first thing I'm going to do is make a normal layer under, and just make a base color layer, which is gonna be helpful later. And right now, I just speeded up the whole thing, so you don't have to watch me color every single spot the whole time. Once you have your base color layer done, now I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer and clip it to the base color layer. Now I'm going to start shading my base color layer using a more saturated pink color. So I'm going to proceed to shade it, and usually I do apply this when I'm shading just so like the shading could look nice. Now I'm going to use my blending brush just so to make the shading fit with the base color, so that way it's not full-on cell shading, but it's not too soft either. Usually I go for balance between the two. I'm going to use a lighter color just so that the drawing does not look too flat. This is also for me to put like highlights on the nose and the face. It's just to also give the figure dimension. Now I'm going to use a complementary color for the bounce lighting, where it's just so our figure here, he's gonna have more dimension if we have a reflected light on him. Now you're gonna merge that layer down and create a new layer, and make sure you clip the layer, and this is where we're at our second set of base colors. So first off, I start by coloring the skin just to set the colors, and then I go on to color the rest of the parts. I go through a big, medium, small type of way. So I start coloring the skin, then the hair, and then the smaller details such as eyes and teeth. So make sure to lower the opacity of the second layer just so that you could see the shadows and highlights from the first layer you just did. Now clip the second layer, the one you made below earlier, and you're gonna make a multiplier layer, which is gonna be our shading layer. So I picked a more reddish pinkish color to block out the shading. Like I mentioned earlier, now I'm gonna go for the complementary color. I'll pick like a toned out blue just so it could act as the reflected light, because as you know, skin also reflects light. And now select overlay, and this is usually I use this layer to brighten up the skin a bit. So I'm going over here and I'm going to brighten parts of Kaiba's skin now. Now this is where I do refine some of the details on the face, such as I usually start with the eyes, just so that it's not full on just a sketch that I made earlier. Now once you're done cleaning up some details, merge your sketch layer down and make sure you lower the opacity a bit, and this is where you refine more and start on rendering the artwork. I use the add layer for highlights, especially because it gives a stronger lighting, and you can also lower the opacity down for the light. Usually I make sure to lower at least 10% so that way it's not too bright. For hair, sometimes I do use multiply, but rarely. I usually just color pick from the color wheel to pick a darker color, and then I add multiple values just so that it looks three-dimensional. Okay, just to not keep y'all too bored of just me being quiet most of the time, I'm going to just explain how's my summer been going. I've been mostly working on art and just practicing for the most part and trying to get better. I've recently also studied different art styles, and I recently just found mine. And I found what inspires me the most. And to be honest, I don't really mention this enough, but I genuinely do appreciate all the compliments I get on my art online. It really makes me feel really happy because I'm happy that there's people out there who enjoy my art and stuff, so it makes me really happy to see that people enjoy it as well. Because with me, I struggle with perfectionism. I always try to look forward to drawing something perfect because that's how people see my art. What I post is mostly these finished pieces, so that ends up sometimes leading me at the point where I stress out about it. Even there are points where I do kind of force myself to draw, even if it's recommended not to force yourself because then it leads to burnout. I've had burnout multiple times, but usually I try to tell myself, like, hey, make sure it doesn't stay too long of a burnout and make sure to get back as soon as possible. But it seems to be like that you're supposed to give yourself enough time to recharge, refresh your mind, and stuff. Going back to the tutorial here, mostly blocking out shapes and adding multiple values to the hair to give the hair volume, because hair is not just a solid clump, it has volume just like almost every 3D object there. So I'm using the blending brush to just blend it in so it's not yet again solid cell shaded. Fun fact, the way I draw noses now, I kind of just draw a dash line because I mostly got it from how I do chibis, and it kind of just transitioned to my actual art style, and I find it very eye-catching, so I started to draw dashes on my noses for my main style. Yeah, because for a long while I've been mostly copying other famous artists' art styles and even sometimes my friends' art styles. That I kind of just like, you know what, let's try to find what we like the most and try and make an art style of it. So that's how kind of impacted my art style, because I really wanted to have my own, to be not iconic, but like, oh yeah, someone will recognize my art for something like that. And for me, I do time myself when I'm drawing because I tend to get stressed out at the beginning before I draw. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. So, usually, if I had to estimate a time on how long I spend drawing, probably 1 to 3 hours each, probably. 3 or 4 is mostly for like if I'm refining it a lot, but 1 or 2 is mostly like just cleanish, polished sketches. Now I'm going to shift the bar more and I'll pick a light color. This is where I use the dip pen hard brush to set the highlights on the hair. And usually I still have it on low opacity just to make it easier to blend the highlights more. To be honest, I'm also kind of surprised on how fast I'm drawing sometimes because guess what? I actually, because last week I started art fight. I joined late, but I still, good thing I had references done beforehand. So the references uploading process was easy. And guess what? In one day I had 7 attacks on art fight. So yeah, and then 3 on the second day, and then I think 1 before I had to do some other stuff, so I'm still doing art fight. I just had to come up with ideas, and usually when I do, I have ideas from AUs of my friends, so I tend to kind of not abandon those ideas of doing the art fight artworks. I just get distracted and draw current AUs instead, so yeah. I also add reflected light onto the hair as well, using the same complementary colors. I do add it to give the hair its outline, the 3D dimension of the hair. Okay, just to make sure the hair's not too flat, I'm gonna go pick a lightish gray color since Kaiba's hair is like blackish. Well, in this case, it's more purple because of the under painted layer, so we're gonna go for a more pinkish tone just to mark out the hair strand so it's not flat and it looks like actual hair. Now I'm going to block out shapes for the hair highlight shine. Now I'm gonna make an overlay layer, and where this is gonna be for underlights for the hair, so it gives the hair more, not necessarily volume, but it makes the hair pop. For most times I pick the background layer color to clean up some spots that I kind of messed up earlier, and here I'm just basically refining it just a bit more so it looks more volume and more clean. But here's the main brushes I use. Feel free to screenshot them.